Hello students, in today's English class we'll study a lesson for students of class 10th. This is a poem. The name is Ozymandias. It is written by P.B. Shelley and I am your tutor Ruchika Gupta. So let us begin the lesson. Let us see the topics that we'll cover here. We'll see a background of the poem and then a summary of the poem. First of all, background of Ozymandias. The poem is a sonnet. What is a sonnet? Sonnet is a small poem comprising 14 lines. So this poem, Ozymandias, is also a sonnet. Just like Not Marble Nor the Gilded Monuments. This was the previous poem that we had studied, and similar to this one, even Ozymandias is a sonnet. In this poem, the first 8 lines form an octave and the following 6 lines form a sestet. The first 8 lines out of the 14 lines in Ozymandias form an octave. Octave is a set of 8 things. And then the following 6 lines form a sestet, that is a set of 6 things. The title of this poem, Ozymandias, is the throne name of Egyptian king Ramesses. There was a very famous king from Egypt whose name was Ramesses, and when he took the throne, that means when he became the king, he was named as Ozymandias. The poet says that the powerful king was foolish as he thought that erecting a huge statue symbolized his power, but today the statue no longer exists. It has become a ruin. That means it has been destroyed. So in this poem, the poet tells us that this powerful king Ozymandias thought that if he would erect a huge statue of himself, that will show his strength, his power. But today, the statue does not exist any longer. And this highlights his foolishness. That such a powerful king also could not visualize that his statue is not long-lived. It will not remain forever. One day it will get destroyed with the passage of time. Now let us see a summary of this poem, Ozymandias. The poet met a person who had travelled to Egypt. He told the poet that in the desert he saw the ruins of the statue of King Ozymandias. He said that the statue had been destroyed with the passage of time. There was a person, there was a traveller who met the poet, and he told the poet that he had been to Egypt. And in Egypt, in the desert area, he saw the remains, the destroyed remains of the statue of King Ozymandias. And then the traveller further said that the statue had been destroyed with the passage of time. It had become a ruin with the passage of time. Further, the traveller describes the remains that he saw. He says, there were 2 legs which stood on a raised platform, but the upper body of the statue was missing. He just saw 2 legs that were standing in the desert on a raised platform. But the upper part of the statue was nowhere to be seen. The face of the statue was buried in the sand at a distance. Then further he saw that at some distance the face of the statue was buried in the sand. It was lying in the sand. The traveller praised the sculptor for copying the expressions and wrinkles on the king's face onto the statue perfectly. Further, the traveller said that the sculptor who had made the statue was a perfect person because he had copied the expressions of the King Ozymandias' face very perfectly. And the statue bore the same expressions that the king had. Further, the engraving on the platform showed the arrogance and haughtiness of King Ozymandias. The platform on which the 2 legs were standing had an engraving on it. That means something was engraved on it, something was stamped on that platform, and that showed the arrogance and the haughty attitude of King Ozymandias. That showed how high-headed he was. Now, As the statue no longer existed, the engraving seemed to be a mockery at the egoist king. Now, when the statue was no longer in existence, this engraving was like a mockery at the ego of King Ozymandias, because his words were themselves making fun of him. There is no trace of his accomplishment in the vast stretch of the desert. Now, today, you cannot see that statue in this huge desert. And so, the engraving on the platform is a mockery on the king himself. So with this, we have covered the background of the poem and the summary. If you want to see the explanation of the poem and the literary devices, the link of the video is given in the description box. Thank you.